Ethan, are you certain about this nerve reconstruction trial? It's highly experimental. The chances of failure are significant. The voice on the phone was clinical, yet held a trace of concern. The people who typically enroll in this study, they're usually in a position where they have nothing left to lose. Have you discussed this with your wife and family? Would they be okay with the risks involved? I'm sure, I said, my own voice a low, steady thing I hardly recognized. And please, this needs to remain completely confidential. All right. We'll be in contact in 7 days to go over the schedule. I ended the call and wheeled myself toward the floor-to-ceiling window of our living room, my gaze fixing on the delicate cascade of wisteria flowers that draped over the garden trellis. They were the very same flowers Chloe had given me years ago, a vibrant purple bouquet she held when she confessed her love. She had knelt before my wheelchair, her eyes filled with an emotion so deep it felt tangible. The language of wisteria, she had whispered, symbolizes a love so profound one would live and die for it. Her words had moved me to tears, a rare crack in the cynical armor I had built around myself, but that beautiful memory had turned to ash just a few weeks ago, the day I saw a meticulously cared-for wisteria bonsai on Liam's office desk. In that moment, I understood. The flowers were never truly for me, and neither was the love. I closed my eyes, but it did no good. The conversation I'd overheard outside the study replayed in my mind on an endless, torturous loop. Chloe, it's been 3 years. 3 years ago, you staged that whole thing, pretending to be some thug to kidnap Ethan. It cost him the use of his legs and got him disowned by the Hamiltons. Liam finally got exactly what he wanted. I know. He's tried so hard these past 3 years to treat you well. Maybe it's time you just forgot about Liam. I had been about to push the study door open, my hand frozen just inches from the wood. A cold dread, sharp and icy, had snaked its way up my spine, paralyzing me. The voices belonged to my own brother, Mark, and my wife, my supposed savior, Chloe. 3 years ago, I was on the cusp of an engagement to a young woman from a prominent family, a strategic alliance for the Hamiltons. But just before the engagement party, I vanished. The official story everyone accepted was that I'd gotten cold feet, that I had run away from the commitment. The reality was a week-long nightmare in a damp, dark room. I was held hostage, blindfolded, beaten, and systematically humiliated. I could never erase the sound of that woman's voice, rough and intentionally manipulated, from my memory. Not gonna run now, are you? I'm breaking your legs. Let's see how far you can run after this. If the beatings and the sickening snap of my bones were the physical torment, the drugs they injected and the ceaseless degradation became a shadow that clung to my soul. I was tortured until every bone in my body screamed, passing out from the pain over and over again. When the Hamiltons' men finally found me, my mental state was shattered. Though they tried to keep the details of my condition quiet, word inevitably leaked out. The engagement was swiftly transferred to another Hamilton son, Liam. I was brought back into the family fold only to serve as a broken prop in their narrative, then abandoned without a second thought once the marriage alliance was secured without me. And that was when Chloe appeared in my life, a beacon of light in the suffocating darkness. Ethan, I've secretly loved you for so many years, she'd said, her sincerity seemingly absolute. Please, just give me a chance. It doesn't matter if you never accept me in the end. At first, I was convinced it was some cruel, elaborate joke. I treated her horribly, pushing her away with all the bitterness I could muster. But she was relentless. She defended me when my own mother lashed out with vicious words. During the night, terrors that left me thrashing in bed, pounding my useless legs in despair. She would hold me tightly, whispering that she would be my legs, that she would carry me. She defied her powerful family, the Sinclairs, to be with me, bore the bruises my mother would inflict in her rages without a word of complaint, and even walked away from a multi-million-dollar contract overseas to fly back and propose to me. She wanted to give me a home after the Hamiltons had cast me out. I fell for her, hopelessly and completely. I began to believe that fate, in its strange and often cruel wisdom, had finally shown me a moment of pity by sending Chloe into my life. But the salvation I had clung to, the love I thought was my redemption, was just another layer of the trap, a deeper, more insidious abyss designed to swallow me whole. As compensation, I have already married Ethan, but my heart will always belong to Liam. You had better keep this a secret. If Ethan ever finds out, we're all screwed. Her words, spoken to my brother, had turned my heart to ice. The pain was a physical thing, a cold weight settling in my chest. It became sickeningly clear that her marrying me was nothing more than an act of guilt. The wheelchair-accessible home she designed, the loving photos that filled its walls, they were all just props in Chloe's grand performance. I forced a smile, my gaze dropping to my inert legs. A sharp, stabbing pain shot through me, stealing my breath. Losing control of my body, my torso slammed forward, and I tumbled from the chair to the floor. Chloe rushed in, the worry etched on her face looking so genuine it was almost convincing. But now, I could see through the facade. "Ethan, what's wrong?" she cried, her voice laced with panic. "I'll get your meds." She carefully lifted me, her actions still so painfully tender, and placed me back onto the bed. "Ethan, the doctor said you shouldn't get too emotional. Was it my fault?" I turned my head away from her, swallowing the asthma medication she handed me. When I spoke, my voice was icy. "Is there still no clue about who kidnapped me 3 years ago?" Chloe's body stiffened for a fraction of a second. She shook her head. "Not yet. But don't worry, Ethan, I won't stop looking until I find that criminal. Then you can decide their fate." Her spirited promise, which had once brought tears of gratitude to my eyes, now just felt ridiculous and hollow. She seemed unsettled, but her phone buzzed, interrupting the moment. Guilt flickered across her face. "Ethan, have your meal. I just need to return a call to a foreign client." I saw the caller ID clearly before she turned away. It was a local number. The nausea I had been fighting rose again in my throat. My sleep that night was a restless torment, haunted by dream fragments of Chloe's deceitful promises. I woke to find her side of the bed empty, a text message sent hours before the only evidence she'd been there at all. "Ethan, I have an event tonight. I'll bring you breakfast in the morning." Shuffling listlessly through my phone, I paused at a familiar contact. It was a notification from Liam. The image was of a wet condom and a torn purple scarf. He had even sent a voice message. "Thanks for the scarf, Chloe, but maybe get a different color next time. She thinks it's tacky." Tears blurred my vision. Liam's photos were more than just taunts. They were the final, brutal shattering of the illusion of love Chloe had so carefully crafted around me. The woman I had spent countless days and nights with, the woman who held me through my nightmares, was secretly with another man all along. Sickened by the thought, I couldn't stop retching into the toilet. After I pulled myself together, my hands shaking, I made a call. "Could you help me draft a divorce agreement? As soon as possible, please." Downstairs in the open-plan kitchen, Chloe saw me coming down the ramp and rushed over to push my wheelchair. "Ethan, we're visiting the old house this morning and then seeing the Hamiltons in the afternoon. Don't worry, your mom and dad won't make things too difficult for you. Worst-case scenario, we can just adopt a child." The mention of children made my head snap up. The psychological trauma from the kidnapping 3 years ago still haunted me, making any form of intimacy nearly impossible. At the time, Chloe had hugged me tenderly, whispering that it was okay, that we had time. Now, looking back, I realized she was probably relieved. scared of getting too close and fearing I might uncover something about her body or her voice that would trigger a memory. "No, I don't want to," I said, avoiding her touch as my eyes landed on the breakfast she'd placed on the table. The seafood porridge glared back at me. "I'm allergic to seafood." Chloe knew this, yet she had brought it anyway. Seeing my unusually silent and withdrawn demeanor, Chloe must have assumed I was upset that she didn't come home last night. "Ethan, are you mad? I swear last night was just a work thing. Please eat your breakfast or your stomach will hurt. When you're in pain, I worry so much." Her voice was soft and coaxing, a perfect imitation of concern. I swallowed down the bitter complaint about my allergy. There was no point explaining anything to a woman who didn't love me. Trying to lighten the strained atmosphere, Chloe looked uneasy. Her attempt was completely shut down by my next words. "Chloe, where's the purple scarf you were wearing when you left yesterday?" She quickly checked her outfit, her fingers ghosting over the black choker Liam had picked for her this morning. "Oh, that. It got stained when I was having drinks. I sent it with my assistant to be dry cleaned." Hearing the exact lie I expected, I nodded calmly, but a deeper cold settled inside me. She thought I believed her, but I knew with absolute certainty that I would never trust this woman again. We had barely stepped inside the Sinclair's villa when her mother's cheerful chatter with Liam reached us. "Liam, dear, you're such a good boy. If it weren't for Ethan, you'd be the perfect son-in-law for our family." From my vantage point, I could see Chloe's mother holding on to Liam's arm affectionately, a brilliant smile on her face that I hadn't seen directed at me in 3 years. Chloe coughed twice to announce our presence, flashing a gentle smile. "Mom, Dad, I brought Ethan back to see you. These are some gifts he carefully picked out." Her mother barely gave the gifts a glance, her response begrudging as she pulled Chloe down to sit beside her. I was used to being ignored in this house, and quietly wheeled myself over to the couch. "We heard from Chloe that your health isn't fully restored yet," Chloe's mother began before I could even react. "You've been married for 3 years and still no children. People might start to wonder if one of you has a problem, you know?" My face flickered, my eyes automatically searching for Chloe, who in the past had always defended me, countering her mother's sharp tongue with a gentle rebuke. But this time her gaze was fixed on Liam, charmed by his every move, completely ignoring my silent plea for support. An awkward silence hung in the air until Liam, pretending to be the magnanimous peacemaker, grasped my hand, his grip a little too tight. "Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair, Ethan knows his past mistakes. Maybe we can let it go, for my sake?" I winced, instinctively pushing his hand away. Liam, ever the actor, conveniently stumbled backward, playing the victim. Chloe rushed to his side, only relaxing once she saw he had no visible injuries. Then she turned on me, her expression harsh. "Liam was speaking up for you. Why did you push him? What if he had gotten hurt?" I clenched the fabric of my trousers, saying nothing. Chloe didn't wait for an explanation, siding with Liam without a moment's hesitation. There was no point in speaking. As she fussed over him, I lifted my head just enough to catch the fleeting, smug look on Liam's face. After lunch, I wheeled myself to the front passenger seat of the car, only to find Liam already there, scrolling on his phone. Before I could say a word, he spoke up. "Ethan, Chloe insisted I shouldn't take a cab home alone. She insisted I ride with her." "But why the front seat?" I started to ask. But Chloe briskly ushered me toward the back, folding my wheelchair and speaking in an earnest tone. "Ethan, Liam gets carsick easily. He'll feel much better up front. Just be considerate." As the car began to move, the blurred world outside raced past. My head felt heavy, and I thought about how Chloe used to gently massage my temples and recline the seat for me whenever I felt motion sick. I got carsick too, perhaps even worse than he did. Had she forgotten? No, she hadn't forgotten. She just didn't bother faking her concern for me when Liam was around. Arriving at the Hamilton estate, the afternoon sunlight bathed the scene in a deceptively warm glow. Through the car window, I saw my mother and my brother, Mark, waving eagerly toward us. I knew their smiles and waves weren't meant for me. They were for Liam. I used to bend over backward for their approval. I'd even gotten burns on my hands mastering the complex tea ceremony skills my mother loved. I had spent sleepless nights combing through data to craft business plans for Mark. But nothing I ever did could outshine Liam's empty sweet talk, and all my efforts were consistently brushed off by my mother as useless. Returning to the present, I watched the carefully tended morning glory flowers in the yard, my expression lost. A woman's impatient voice cut through my thoughts. It was my mother. "Ethan, Liam's been having some stomach issues lately. You know a doctor, right? Get Liam some help. But remember to keep it simple. He hates hassle." Staring at her, my mind flashed back to the conversation between Mark and Chloe. My expression darkened. If he needs help, he should see a doctor. How could a no-talent loser like me possibly help him? Mark eyed my sharper demeanor, a stark contrast to the once docile man he was used to. Fury began to bubble inside him. "Ethan, don't you remember who raised you? Without the Hamiltons, would you have any of this? I'm just asking you to help Liam, and you're making excuses. Is that because you think you've outgrown needing us?" In his eyes, ever since I had married into the Sinclair family, I had not only kept minimal contact with them, but had also subtly sabotaged Liam in private. He'd even told me he'd caught Liam crying a few times, each time comfortingly assuring him not to blame me. "Ethan, do you think just because you're with Chloe now, no one would dare cross you? Let me tell you, Chloe." Before he could finish his threat, Chloe loudly cut Mark off. She rushed to my side, hugging me tightly, her body tense. "Ethan, are you okay? Let's go. I'm taking you away from here." On the way home, Chloe cautiously probed with questions, clearly fearing I had found out the truth. That night, as she was washing my legs, a routine she performed every evening, her phone chimed. A few minutes later, after drying my legs, she kissed my forehead softly. "Ethan, you get some sleep. There's a last-minute issue at the office I have to deal with. I'll be back soon." Chloe left in a hurry, yet 5, then 10 minutes passed, and I still hadn't heard the sound of her car starting. Struggling, I managed to get myself into my wheelchair and rolled down the ramp to the front of the house. The front door was slightly ajar, a thin strip of light peeking through. I clutched the cold metal of my wheelchair, my eyes peering through the gap at the figure inside her car, parked just down the driveway. The sounds of soft pants were distinct in the quiet night. The car was swaying gently, the silhouettes of the people inside shifting. My hand flew to my chest as tears began to stream down my face like broken beads. The pain in my heart was a wrenching, physical agony. I wasn't one to eavesdrop, but this was unavoidable. I stiffly turned my wheelchair and made my way back to the bedroom. After drying my tears, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I don't know how much time passed before a warm body snuggled up behind me, the grip around my waist almost desperate. "Liam, don't go, Liam," I heard her murmur in her sleep. Fighting back the bitterness that rose in my throat, I looked at the whispering woman under the soft moonlight. Her face was full of affection, an affection that was not for me. Yet she had fooled me, over and over, playing me like an absolute fool. On a compulsion, I picked up her phone from under her pillow. I tried Liam's birthday as the passcode. Sure enough, it unlocked. On the screen was a youthful photo of the two of them, smiling. Opening her photo album, I found over 6,000 photos, every single one of them about Liam. The Notes app detailed all of Liam's dislikes and preferences, even his regular therapy appointments. The last note stopped on the date of Liam's wedding day 3 years ago. 2 sentences summed up everything Chloe felt. Liam, I love you. Even though you married someone else, in my heart, you'll always be my one and only groom. I'll always remember your promise, Liam, that you'd be with me every year on this day. I vaguely remembered that for the past 3 years, on the anniversary of Liam's wedding, Chloe would always disappear for the entire day. It turns out she was spending it with him, while I waited foolishly for her to come home, sometimes staying up until dawn. The tears blurred my vision again, and I curled up in bed, an icy coldness seeping into my very bones. Just a little longer, I told myself. 5 more days. In the morning, as I woke up, the woman beside me ruffled my hair, her voice indulgent. Ethan, get up for breakfast. Afterward, I'll go with you to the hospital to discuss adopting a child. I paused for a moment, then nodded. After we ate and I got ready, Chloe helped me into the front passenger seat. Put me in the back, I said. It's roomier and more comfortable. Chloe seemed surprised by my request, but as she moved me, she quickly tossed aside a man's earring she found in the back seat. I pretended not to notice, my gaze lingering on the world passing by outside the window. At the hospital, a nurse led me to an exam room. While I was waiting, Chloe disappeared again. I called her several times, but my calls went straight to voicemail. After a few routine tests, the nurse wheeled me away for a more thorough examination. As I was adjusting my clothes, ready to leave, I overheard 2 of the nurses chatting nearby. It's a different world now, isn't it? Even people with disabilities want to adopt. And he's here all alone, too. The world is so unfair. The other nurse gossiped. I know. A real beauty was here earlier with her husband, nearly frantic over a mere stomach bug. The nurse's description of the beauty, who wore a black coat and carried a designer bag, fit Chloe's description to a T. I looked down at the taunting text from Liam that had just arrived. Hey, Ethan. Chloe says you're at the hospital. Want to share some of the porridge she brought for me? Closing my phone, a cold, humorless smile crept onto my lips. Later, as I was waiting for my test results, Chloe came running up, completely out of breath. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I had a call from a business partner and had to stop by a nearby factory. Were you waiting long? I looked straight into the face of the anxious woman, noticing her spotless high heels. I simply shook my head, indicating it was fine. Chloe visibly relaxed, clutching my arm close to her. The overwhelming scent of her perfume, a scent she never wore around me, nearly made me gag. Gently, I pulled away from her. Chloe, can we not adopt? I feel like I'm overcoming my psychological fears. Maybe we should pick a date to try instead. Chloe was taken aback, and her tone became firm. That's not an option. Realizing her words were too harsh, she quickly softened her voice. Ethan, don't push yourself. The adoption process is very comprehensive. We can still have children without you having to overcome your fears. I knew she was just putting on an act, wanting to remain virtuous in her own mind for Liam, suddenly disinterested in the conversation. I said no more. That afternoon, after Chloe dropped me off at home, she quickly left again. I saw her a few hours later through Liam's social media update. He was leaning against a brand new bright blue Ferrari, posing happily for the camera. Chloe was barely in the frame, watching Liam with an unreadable expression on her face. The caption read, "Thanks for the car she sent, celebrating our 18 years of knowing each other. Cheers to us." I quickly calculated the number of days Chloe and I had known each other. It barely hit 1,000, nowhere near their 18 years. I liked the post and left a comment. May it last forever. I knew it was exactly what Liam wanted to hear. At 9 p.m. that evening, I was reading a book when Chloe returned. Ethan, guess what I got for you? These are lucky charms, a total of 3. Just right for our future family of 3. The charms were small and delicately made. While looking at the woman's gentle profile, I felt absolutely nothing. I'm heading abroad for a business trip soon, so I won't be able to be with you. Let these charms keep you company, okay?" "Why?" I asked, my tone as casual as if I were asking about something trivial. Chloe froze for a brief moment, then quickly concocted an excuse. "Ethan, the board of directors is going to conduct a comprehensive assessment of me as the CEO over the next 2 weeks, so I'll probably have to eat and live at the company. I shouldn't be making you go through this alone. Don't be mad at me, all right?" Tears filled her eyes, spilling over her cheeks. I silently nodded. Waking up at midnight, I was momentarily taken aback by the empty spot beside me in the bed, but the feeling quickly returned to a cold normal. I looked out into the endless night. Just 4 more days. The following morning, as I descended the stairs in my chairlift, the driver Chloe had arranged was already waiting at the door. At the hospital, after completing a series of rehabilitation procedures, I suddenly fainted. When I woke up, the only person beside me was Liam, fiddling with one of the charms Chloe had given me. "I didn't think you'd really go for adopting a kid. I thought you'd never agree to it." I figured I was about to leave this sham of a life soon anyway, so I had complied with Chloe's wish to adopt, thinking it would spare me some unnecessary trouble. I hadn't expected Liam to have such a strong opinion about it. As I stared at him, stunned, Liam tossed a paternity test report onto my lap. "If Chloe could have children, why would she suggest you adopt one? Ethan, you should be thankful. This is my child with my ex-girlfriend. Chloe said she'll treat him like her own. Soon enough, you'll have to call him your nephew." I shook as I crumpled the report in my fist, meeting Liam's smug grin. "You really are quite the fool, aren't you? Playing along despite knowing about me and Chloe? So what if you're the Hamiltons' biological heir? They only love me." Even though I knew Liam was just trying to provoke me, his words still hurt. In a fit of rage, I slapped him across the face. Liam looked incredulous, and as he tried to retaliate, he turned, breaking a glass and cutting his hand in the process. Breathless and lying on the bed, I hadn't even recovered when Chloe yanked me up, demanding an explanation. "How could you injure Liam like that? He has a clotting disorder. Do you have any idea you could have endangered his life?" I had no time to think over her words. I hastily treated his wound, feeling some relief that it wasn't a serious cut. "It wasn't me, Chloe. Do you really think so little of me?" Chloe's flustered expression lasted only for a moment before she regained her composure, frowning deeply. "For the next few days, you will stay home and reflect. You're not allowed to go anywhere, but don't stop your rehab. I'll send a doctor to the house." Seeing her attentively bandaging Liam's wound, I slumped onto the bed, closing my eyes in defeat. It turns out that in her eyes, I was just a convenient tool to take the fall for Liam, nothing more. Upon learning that I was confined to the house, my mother was the first to call, her voice shrill with accusations. "Ethan, Liam visited you out of the kindness of his heart, and you injured his hand like that? And then you defied Chloe? Have you gone mad?" I swiftly hung up, blocked her number, and felt my resolve soften as I glanced at the divorce papers my lawyer had just sent over. The doorbell began to ring incessantly. Having no intention of opening it, I was surprised when Mark eventually forced his way in. "Ethan, Liam hasn't been able to sleep because of the pain in his arm, and you have the nerve to just sit here? What, do you want to inflict the same injury on me so I can suffer along with Liam?" Mark's face was flushed with anger. He quickly recovered and tried to force me to apologize to a pale-looking Liam who had followed him in. With every pained cry Liam let out, Mark grew angrier. "Apologize. Don't make me get rough." I steeled myself and stared Mark directly in the eye. "I did nothing wrong, so why should I apologize?" Mark's fists clenched. With a sharp nod, his bodyguards rushed forward, pinning me to the ground. The weight on my shoulder blades was so excruciating that tears welled in my eyes. Even so, I remained steadfast in my refusal to apologize. Chloe arrived in a rush, having received news of the commotion. Seeing my sorry state, she felt a strange sensation flicker through her, which she quickly dismissed as she redirected her focus to Liam. "Apologize, or you'll never get that watch back." I couldn't believe it. I recalled gifting her that very watch on her birthday. "Chloe, this watch was left to me by my grandfather. It means everything to me, just like you do," I had told her. Back then, Chloe had been surprised and had vowed to protect it with her life. Times had certainly changed. What was once a cherished gift had now become a tool of coercion. The overwhelming pain suffocated me, a bitter cold consuming me from the inside out. I chuckled to myself, a broken sound, and dropped my head to the floor, my knees grinding against the hardwood as I mumbled, "I'm sorry, Liam. I was wrong." No sooner had the words left my mouth, Liam sneered unhappily. "Ethan, that's not enough. You should bow your head to show you're sincere. Did you forget how good you used to be at it?" Grinding my teeth, I glanced at an irate Chloe and a smug Mark. Swallowing down my resentment, I complied. The sound of my forehead hitting the marble floor echoed through the living room. Every blow drove the pain and humiliation deeper into my heart. I'm not sure how many times I did it before Liam mercifully declared that he wouldn't pursue the matter any further. Chloe coldly turned her back on me. In the messy aftermath, with Mark's mocking words replaying in my mind, I felt a deep, chilling calm settle over me. I pressed the number I knew by heart on my phone. "I need you to do me a favor. Kidnap 2 people. One of them is Liam Hamilton, and the other one is me." Chloe returned to the villa the next morning, spotting me asleep on the couch. Her lips involuntarily curled into a small smile. As long as I stayed in line and played the part of her husband, she would make sure I never had to worry about a thing in my life. But I had to go and challenge Liam, which was always a bad idea. It was only ever going to end badly for me. As she thought about it, she applied more pressure with her hands as she dabbed my forehead with alcohol, feeling the sting on my skin. My eyelashes fluttered, and I woke up. My eyes were cold, wanting nothing to do with her. But as I tried to move my wheelchair, Chloe held me in place. "Ethan, I know I was tough on you last night, but it was for your own good." Was having me kneel on the floor without reason her way of showing she cared? Her twisted way of protecting me? I swallowed the words I wanted to say and remained silent. Trying to explain anything to her was pointless, a complete waste of energy. Chloe picked up a few articles of clothing and quickly left, but not before telling me to work on my rehabilitation exercises. Soon enough, a doctor and a nurse arrived at the house. The nurse winked at me as she entered the living room, making me chuckle a bit. "Ethan, don't you recognize me? It's Ken, and this is my sister, Sarah. I bet you didn't expect to see us like this." Ken clapped me on the back excitedly as he wrapped me in a brief, strong hug, his eyes filled with concern. "I saw that jerk's car parked outside earlier. I watched Liam laughing it up in the passenger seat." Sarah quickly gave her brother a knowing look. "It's fine. I'm used to it," I said with a small smile. "In 3 days, we'll go ahead with the plan we discussed last night. But I'll need a couple of our friends, Ken and Samuel, to play the bad guys. You two will be my backup." Sarah nodded, handing me some tonic medicine and carefully explaining how and when I should take it. I accepted it with a smile, gratitude warming my heart as I thanked them earnestly. "Come on, Ethan. It's no big deal," Sarah said. 7 years ago, if it wasn't for you, my brother and I would have probably been torn apart by that rich punk's attack dogs. Besides, I went into nursing because of you." She started to say more before Ken hurriedly covered her mouth, and they left after saying a few more things reluctantly. Before noon, Chloe sent someone to take me to a photo studio. "Ethan, take some pictures of Liam, all right? I spent the entire morning helping him try on suits, and he didn't like any of the photos the photographer took. I remember you won some photography awards before." I didn't move my wheelchair. I merely stared at the flash of the camera lights. In the blur of my vision, I recalled the thug's words, and also Chloe's. "Come on, don't be shy. You've got nothing left to hide. Take a few more shots." My body jerked, and the camera slipped from my hands, crashing to the floor. Nearby, Liam screamed. "Ethan, if you don't want to help me with the anniversary photos, that's fine, but you didn't have to drop the camera. That thing is a collector's item from Chloe, worth millions!" An angry force pushed my chin up, forcing me to meet Chloe's livid eyes. "Ethan, I brought you here to help, not to cause trouble. Can't you stand to see Liam doing well? If that's how it's going to be, then you're punished. You'll reflect in the darkroom storage until we're ready to leave." I stiffened. The thought of being in the dark, ever since my kidnapping 3 years prior, terrified me. But I gritted my teeth and grabbed at the woman's sleeve. "I didn't mean to, I'm scared of the flash. When I see it." Before I could finish, Liam laughed as if it were the best joke he had ever heard. "Chloe, isn't Ethan hilarious? Who's afraid of flashlights? Maybe Ethan has done something shady he doesn't want to be exposed." The woman's expression iced over, a memory of the photos that were taken of me 3 years earlier flashing in her mind. She hesitated for a moment, with Liam clinging to her arm. "Chloe, how about this? Just let him wear a blindfold and stay in the darkroom for 2 hours, not the whole afternoon." Without even thinking, Chloe agreed, instructing the guards to take me, wheelchair and all, into the room. The darkroom was pitch black, and the blindfold blocked whatever little vision I might have had. My heart raced, and my palms grew sweaty as unpleasant memories flooded back. The sound of laughter from outside the door sounded like a magic spell working against me. Chloe's low, merged voice overlapped with the kidnappers from years ago, and Liam's steady breathing made me feel dizzy and uneasy. I slammed my hand against the door repeatedly, but those outside remained unbothered. Liam had made everyone put on headphones minutes ago, completely engrossed in viewing his runway show on a tablet. My shivering didn't stop. I fell from my wheelchair and began to crawl toward the door, my legs numb. The feeling of blood from my scraped arms soon stained my clothes, and as I touched the sticky substance, I finally passed out. Upon waking up alone in a hospital room, I glimpsed Chloe speaking to a doctor just outside the door, her voice carrying clearly into the room. "Doctor, can the muscle relaxant dose be increased?" My blood ran cold. The pain in my right arm brought me back to a harsh reality. "Miss Sinclair, a higher dose means Ethan really won't ever walk again. If he hadn't been on it for the past 3 years, there was a chance his legs could have healed. Are you absolutely sure you don't want to reconsider?" "No need. Just fill the prescription. The payment will hit your account soon. Just keep quiet about this." Even though I already knew Chloe's true colors, her willingness to do anything for Liam still shocked me to my core. I pounded my useless legs a couple of times, heavy with guilt. How could I have fallen for Chloe's game for so long? Before I could delve deeper into this thought, footsteps approached. The smell of smoke was unmistakable. It was Mark. "Chloe, Liam told me that when Ethan fainted, you dashed over to put him in the ambulance. You didn't even hear Liam calling you. You were worried, weren't you?" The smell grew stronger, the heavy scent of cigars filling the air. The woman's voice was raspy. "What are you worried about? I was just afraid something might happen to him, and then Liam would have to handle all the trouble. Plus, I told the doctor to up his dose of sedatives. Once it's all done, he won't even be able to get out of bed to bother Liam. To be honest, Chloe, you're way more ruthless than me. It makes me look soft as his brother." As their footsteps faded away, I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer. Tears started falling one by one, and I almost lost my voice from crying so hard. I tossed the talisman she had given me into the trash, staring out into the endless night. I wore a grimace that was worse than crying. I comforted myself with a single thought. Only 2 more days. A little more patience. Late that night, as I was getting ready for bed, Liam sent me a photo of him and Chloe together. She was looking lovingly at him, both of them dressed up in elaborate costumes. Was taking a costume photo, and Chloe wouldn't even wait for you to wake up, Ethan. That's pretty sad. I remembered the past 3 years when Liam used to mock me with his sweet looks and passive-aggressive comments. Back then, I thought Liam was just jealous of my relationship with Chloe. It turns out I was being played like a fool by both of them. How pathetic and ironic. Seeing that I didn't answer, Liam dangled an olive branch, saying that Chloe had agreed to take me to the beach to unwind the next day. My brother already agreed to go. Leaving you at home would make us look bad, like we don't care about disabled people. Half an hour later, Chloe sent a message echoing Liam's words, saying the driver would pick me up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Come to the beach and relax a bit. I didn't reply. I printed out the divorce papers I had just received, signed them, and left them on the coffee table. I was counting down the last day. By the time I got to the beach, Liam and Chloe were already there. Mark handed Liam a glass of juice. Ethan, you should have some too. Chloe had these oranges flown in from N City. They're super sweet. I didn't take it. I simply said I was allergic and turned my wheelchair toward the sea. After a while, my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. They had just knocked Liam out and moved him onto the yacht. Before I could put my phone away, Chloe hurriedly came over to me. Have you seen Liam? He said he was going to change into his swim trunks. Where did he go? Mark dragged Chloe away, irritated. Chloe, what are you talking about? It's not like he can get up and help us find Liam. Watching them search frantically up and down the beach, I smiled. I knew freedom was close. Elsewhere, Chloe's temper flared as the bodyguards she had hired knelt before her. What are you all standing around for? Go find him. If you don't find Liam by the end of the day, you're all fired. Right after her outburst, Mark found Chloe, looking panicked, and took her to the yacht. Someone just called, insisting that I bring you to the deck. I suspect it's related to Liam's disappearance. The two of them had just stepped onto the deck when they saw unconscious crew members scattered everywhere. 2 criminals, played by Ken and Samuel, held knives and stood by the mast. Hey, look, Chloe and Mark. Do these people seem familiar to you? The criminals ripped Liam's hood off, exposing his pale, tear-streaked face as he looked at them pitifully. The criminals chuckled, shoving the hooded person next to him roughly. It was me. Transfer 10 million now. Pick one of them in the next 10 seconds. If you don't decide, I'll toss them both into the sea. Chloe looked at the unmoving, hooded person on her left. She felt a wave of doubt, but seeing no wheelchair around, she relaxed. Okay, I'll give you the money. Just don't hurt him. Within seconds, the transfer was complete. But the criminals still didn't release Liam. I gave you the money, aren't you satisfied? Let Liam go, or I'll make you pay. The criminals exchanged looks. One of them discreetly signaled to me, then pushed Liam forward. In that split second, my hood was removed, and I locked eyes with Chloe, who was trying to untie Liam. Her eyes bulged. She lunged toward me, only managing to grab a piece of my clothing as I was pushed overboard. Anguished screams pierced through the air. Ethan, come back! The icy wind struck my face as the waves crashed over me. I saw Chloe standing there in shock, staring at the sea below the yacht, her blood freezing as the cold seeped into her bones. Without a second thought, Chloe dove in after me. The salty sea quickly made it hard for her to breathe. Right before losing consciousness, one thought filled her mind. Ethan was still in the water. Awakened by a fit of coughing, Chloe opened her eyes to find herself surrounded by a crowd. There was no sign of me. She shook her wet body, fury building inside her. What's everyone standing around for? Go find Ethan now. I'll give whoever brings him back $1 million in cash. An uneasy silence spread through the crowd. As Chloe scanned the still bodyguards, She repeated herself, but got no volunteers. Desperate, she raised the reward from 1 to 10 million. Finally, someone spoke up hesitantly. "Miss Sinclair, it's not that we don't want to help, but the storm's approaching. Going in now would be suicide." Before he could finish, Chloe threw her jacket at him, her face as dark as the storm clouds gathering overhead. "Fine, you cowards. I'll save him myself." Seeing Chloe ready to jump back into the sea, Liam panicked, holding her arm and pleading, "Chloe, let's go back, please. It's too dangerous now. We can search for him after the storm passes." Mark, for the first time, found Chloe's behavior completely unreasonable. He shrugged indifferently. "Chloe, you should listen to Liam. There's no use risking your life for Ethan. Besides, his legs are gone. He can't swim. By now he's likely fish food." Chloe's cold stare froze Mark, making him shut up awkwardly. Hours dragged by. The waves eventually quieted as a faint light appeared in the east. A group of people went into the sea, searching a 10-nautical-mile radius near the cruise ship all day long. But they found nothing. Chloe pursed her chapped lips, while her assistant updated her on the search results every 2 hours. Her patience was wearing thin, and she kept crushing the empty water bottles in her hands over and over. The distant ocean waves were rolling and crashing furiously, almost as if they were mocking her helplessness. When she finally got home, deflated, she looked around at the familiar surroundings, and every expression I had ever made flashed in her mind. Staring blankly, she slumped onto the couch, holding her head in her hands, rubbing her eyes repeatedly, filled with regret. The thought that I might still be in those icy waters terrified her. She kept assuring herself that it couldn't be true, that I couldn't just die like that. No way. But deep down, she knew that if someone who couldn't swim and was disabled fell into the ocean during a storm, their chances of survival were close to none. As her thoughts jumbled, Chloe's eyes fell on the divorce papers on the coffee table. Her palms broke out in a cold sweat. In a matter of seconds, Chloe played through every possibility in her mind and finally landed on the last one. I had found out about her scheming from years ago and had tried to leave her. But knowing my stubborn and single-minded nature, if I had really known, I would have definitely confronted her instead of being so calm like I was before. She tried not to dwell on the strange behavior I had been showing lately, and tore the divorce agreement to shreds. She decided she needed to head back to the cruise ship personally. Just as she arrived, a team of rescue workers with their gear were getting ready to leave, avoiding her like the plague. From afar, the silhouette on the second level of the ship, directing everyone, was none other than Chloe's mother. Chloe jogged up to the second deck, fuming. "Mom, what are you doing here causing trouble and sending people away? Ethan is still in the sea. He'll die if we don't save him." Chloe's mother glanced at her daughter, whose hair was a mess and clothes were crumpled, and snorted. "That cripple has been in the water a whole day and night. It would be a joke if he's still alive. For him, Chloe, do you need to wreck yourself like this? You know you love Liam. Now that that thing isn't here, it's the perfect chance for you to get closer to Liam." Chloe gritted her teeth, anger written all over her face. "Mom, mind your own business. I know what I need to do. We can't withdraw the search party. I'm not allowing it." Leaving her words hanging in the air, she marched towards the mast. As she was putting on a life jacket, Mark tapped her on the shoulder. "Chloe, ever since last night, you've been so busy trying to save that cripple. Did you even look at Liam? Who's more important, Liam or that cripple? Don't you have a clue, Chloe?" The resentment and unwillingness in Mark's eyes strangely reminded Chloe of a similar look she had seen in my eyes, and her heart ached for a moment. "I know, but I can't just stand by and watch him die," Chloe said firmly, lowering her head to avoid Mark's gaze. But he tripped her, making her fall to the ground. "Chloe, you're still in denial. I think you're falling for that cripple. How could you do this to Liam?" Clenching her jaw from the pain, Chloe pushed Mark away and started to get on the lifeboat when Liam came over. "Chloe, don't be mad at Mark. He's just straightforward. We all know if Ethan were still alive, wouldn't he be found by now?" "Enough." Liam was taken aback by Chloe's sudden anger. Normally she would have held him and comforted him, but today, Liam's presence only seemed to bother her. She didn't understand why everyone was so certain that I was dead, thinking she was doing something pointless. She refused to believe it. As long as my body hadn't been found, there was still hope. From that day on, Chloe dropped everything and spent her days at sea, searching with the rescue team for any sign of me. On the fourth day, the team finally found something. It was the windbreaker she couldn't grab in time as I fell. Hope turned to disappointment once more, and Chloe felt worse than ever. She could barely sleep these past few days. Every time she tried to close her eyes, the scene of me being pushed over kept replaying in her mind. If only she could have acted a second sooner, she might have been able to save me, might have kept me from sinking into the sea. The guilt and regret filled Chloe with an unbearable pain and panic, leaving her heart heavy with sorrow and almost suffocating her. On the seventh day, the head of the rescue team approached Chloe, explaining that the rescue mission was no longer necessary. "Miss Sinclair, I understand how you feel, but we all know your husband couldn't swim, and his legs weren't working. With waters this deep and rough, it's highly unlikely he survived. I'm so sorry." Chloe staggered, unable to stand properly, wanting to speak but finding her throat too dry. She gripped the windbreaker tightly, running her fingers over the buttons as tears fell onto her hand, blurring her vision. As the crowd dispersed, Chloe could no longer hold in her emotions, crying uncontrollably, pounding her fists against the deck until they were red and bloody. Finally, she stopped, a bitter smile on her lips. "Do you think Ethan would blame me? Blame me for not saving him? For causing this to happen to him? Well, if his legs were okay, would he still be alive? But his legs were broken. He couldn't move anymore." The assistant sighed, watching Chloe cry in pain, then suddenly snapped to attention. With a thud, Chloe collapsed on the deck, unconscious. Chloe had a long dream where I had survived, but was with another woman. Jealous and livid, she wished the woman would disappear. Just at the critical moment of confrontation, she jolted awake. Opening her eyes, Chloe struggled to sit up, finding her whole body weak, her throat parched. As she was drinking some water, her secretary burst in, startled at first, then stammered. "Miss Sinclair, thank goodness you're awake. Your mother's... She arranged for your husband's funeral. It's today." The glass shattered on the ground. Chloe, in a panic, grabbed her assistant's tie, demanding to know the truth, paying no attention to the pain in her foot from the broken glass. "Of course it's true. Ever since you fell into a coma just yesterday, Madam has been busy talking about the funeral for your husband." Despite being furious, Chloe ignored the doctor's orders and checked herself out of the hospital, heading straight to the funeral. As soon as she got out of the car, 2 rows of huge wreaths stung her eyes. Ignoring any protests, she shoved them over and stomped on them. She then instructed her bodyguards to rip down the white cloth from the hall and kicked the officiator out in front of everyone. People who recognized Chloe went silent, watching as the woman entered the hall. Chloe's mother saw her and was shocked, as she had expected her to still be in the hospital. But before she could speak, Chloe grabbed a microphone at the front and announced, "Thanks for coming today, but please leave now. My husband is not dead, so there's no need for a funeral. Those of you hoping for his death can leave too. If you don't go now, don't blame me for what happens next." Her voice was firm and authoritative, filled with a commanding presence as she scanned the room. The hall erupted into whispers, all talking about how deeply Chloe loved her husband, refusing to leave his side. My mother, on the right side of the hall, nearly had a heart attack from anger, clutching her chest as a pale-faced Mark supported her. Liam hadn't expected Chloe to say in public that I wasn't dead. Thinking about how cold Chloe had been to him these past few days, Liam dug his nails into his palm, cursing me under his breath. As guests began to leave, the hall's sound system suddenly blasted out a loud noise. Seconds later, once it cleared, a recording started playing, leaving everyone speechless. Chloe went pale, looking at a justice-shocked Mark. She shouted to turn off the system, but it was too late. The recording was of her and Mark's conversation. It turns out I was in a wheelchair because of Chloe. Everyone thought they knew her, but clearly they didn't. Chloe felt utterly ashamed, embarrassed beyond words, as her mom gave her frequent looks of disbelief. Holding the mic, Chloe's hand felt as heavy as a rock, unable to move. Why was this recording out here? Only I was at the house then. Could I perhaps be alive? With this thought, Chloe sprinted backstage, pushed past the staff, only to find a single USB drive. Distraught, Chloe ran outside, her eyes scanning the crowd, but she never found a trace of me. Falling to the ground, Chloe looked at the USB in her hand. On the back were my initials, gleaming there, darkening her mood. When her mom found her, Chloe was staring blankly at the USB, driving her mom up the wall. Chloe, do you realize by running like that, people think you look guilty? What's going on? Chloe spoke wryly, her feelings tangled up inside. Mom, I've made my bed. I knew this day could come. Do you think Ethan might not be dead? Maybe he knows everything and decided to punish me. He could be nearby. Chloe's mom, seeing her daughter in such a crazed state, cried out, insisting the bodyguards take Chloe to the car. As she mumbled to herself in the car, Chloe's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from nearly everyone tied to her and me flooded in, questioning her. Chloe, what happened? How could you do this? How could you betray Ethan? I'm disgusted for Ethan to have to sleep next to someone so vile. You deserve the worst. Chloe, acting like you're all in love, but you were just stabbing him in the back. Karma's watching. You'll regret this. Shutting her phone off, Chloe's heart ached. If I could just come back, she'd welcome any punishment if it meant I was there. As soon as she stepped out of the car, she felt the eyes on her, full of hate, shock, and anger. Closing the door, blocking out the world, she held a photo of me close, sitting down with empty eyes. Tears fell uncontrollably as she looked at my smiling, handsome face, the heartache unbearable. Ethan, I messed up. I really messed up. Please come back. I can't do this without you. Her plea dropped into the silence, casting a solitary shadow in the dim light. As she groggily woke up, a noise caught her attention. She looked up and locked eyes with Liam. He paused with my picture in hand, nudging a bag of my things with his foot. Chloe glared, her face darkened with anger, causing Liam to flinch. Chloe, your mom told me to pack Ethan's stuff. We need to move on. Before he could finish, she snatched the bag, shoving him aside, her voice fierce. Who gave you the right to decide? Why are you throwing Ethan's stuff out? Get out! Her voice was full of a venom that made Liam shiver, and he reluctantly left. After he was gone, Mark called, most likely to defend Liam. Anticipating this, Chloe swiftly blocked both their numbers, tossing her phone aside and downing more alcohol. The booze didn't numb her pain. Instead, it only made my image clearer in her mind. Suddenly startled awake, she found her hands empty, reality crushing down on her. I was only willing to exist in her dreams. From then on, she clung to alcohol, day and night, blending together until she was drunk. Only then could she see me again. The night I fell into the water, Sarah and her crew swiftly got me to the East Coast. After that, she went with me by boat to J Country. Then we transferred to a plane, and finally made it to F Country 3 days later. Ken stayed behind to keep an eye on Chloe and her crew's activities, and boldly released the audio of Chloe and Mark at the funeral. In the Kinsil laboratory in the town of Lezu, in F Country, an assistant was recording my information. 20 minutes later, I was taken to a spacious and grand office to meet Professor Kinsel. After a brief explanation, the professor examined my legs, his brow furrowed in a deep frown. "Hello, Ethan. Have you taken any medication for muscle atrophy before? These drugs have been in your system for a long time. You've come a bit late, to be honest. Our experiment might not be of much help to you." I turned pale, my whole body swaying, and Sarah quickly supported me. "Please, we came all the way from Z country, almost risking our lives, just for this little bit of hope. Professor Kinsel, I believe you won't give up on any patient." The old man's face darkened. He sighed several times, and then asked for my opinion. My eyes were bright, my words firm and powerful, insisting on giving it a try. Professor Kinsel finally agreed. From then on, I lived near the lab. Every day, hormones were surged through my legs, causing me excruciating pain. My face twisted in agony. In just 5 days, my legs were covered in a dense array of needle marks, bruised and battered, a frightening sight. Even during treatment with anesthesia, I could still feel the stinging electric current spreading throughout my body. Often, in less than 20 minutes, I was drenched in sweat, and by the end of a 2-hour session, my clothes were soaking wet. Sarah saw everything, watching as I grew thinner day by day. Though it pained her, she respected my decision. She especially sought out traditional mugwort, hoping to aid my recovery on top of Professor Kinsel's treatment. 2 months passed, and my legs gradually began to improve. One afternoon, they finally regained sensation. When Sarah heard this good news, she was so excited that she skipped lunch and rushed to the training room to bring me a nourishing hot soup. After that, Sarah's moxibustion massage went from once a day to twice daily, while my rehabilitation exercises intensified. Everyone awaited a miracle, especially me. Finally, after 3 phases of experimental treatment, supported by Sarah and the lab staff, I slowly stood up. Even though each step brought a stabbing pain to my knees, I gritted my teeth and persevered. After a few steps, Sarah and the staff let go. I stumbled, but then managed to walk a few more steps on my own. Thunderous applause erupted, and Professor Kinsel sincerely exclaimed, "Ethan, you are truly the most determined person I've ever seen. You know, hardly anyone endures through the entire neural regeneration experiment, but you did it." My eyes glistened with tears as I met Sarah's gaze, and she gave me a thumbs up. We exchanged smiles, and for a moment I felt a long-lost sense of relief. From then on, I was no longer someone restricted by my mobility. I could go anywhere I desired. Freedom was just within reach. On the other side of the world, Chloe had been despondent for more than 2 months, almost shutting herself indoors. Rumors swirled outside, growing more ridiculous by the day. Some even thought Chloe was hiding at home, afraid I would come back seeking revenge. Chloe's mother became even more distressed, recalling her attempts to persuade Chloe, only to be faced with indifference in return. Chloe was determined to oppose her at every turn. If her mother said anything bad about me, she would retort tenfold. Even Chloe's mother's head began to ache, leaving her with no patience for Liam. Liam couldn't ignore the tension. He hadn't seen Chloe during this period, and with her mother urging him more than once, Liam made a decision and softly shared his divorce plans with her. Chloe's mother's sorrow was instantly replaced with joy, and she hugged Liam closely, already planning for grandchildren. That afternoon, Chloe's mother had the door to the villa pried open and personally sent Liam inside. Empty beer bottles cluttered the living room sofa. The place reeked of decay, and Chloe lay limp on the ground. Suppressing his disdain, Liam slowly sat beside Chloe, wrapping his arms around her shoulders and exhaling softly. "Chloe, you've been holed up in here for days. You won't even see me." Chloe didn't even glance at Liam, picking up a can and downing it in under 10 seconds. Feeling ignored, Liam's expression faltered before he employed his typical pity tactics. Chloe, I've been wanting to tell you. I divorced my arranged partner half a year ago. Now that Ethan's gone, whenever you're ready, we can get married. You know we—" Before he could finish, Liam leaned in, aiming to kiss her chin, but Chloe reacted quickly, pushing him away. Liam cried out in pain, staring at her vacant eyes, frustrated. "Chloe, what's the matter with you? Ethan's dead now, whether you admit it or not. Clearly, we—" Chloe smashed the bottle against the wall, causing Liam to scurry away. Depleted of energy, Chloe looked through a shard of broken glass to see her unkempt reflection with messy hair. She forced a twisted smile and clutched her stomach, writhing in agony, finding relief only after taking some painkillers. Hearing about Liam's divorce didn't bring her any joy, as my image filled her mind. She had once envisioned marrying Liam countless times, yet when the chance finally arose, she hesitated. I occupied her thoughts completely, leaving no space for anyone else. She took a sip of beer and looked at our wedding photo, her lips curling upward. At that moment, she finally realized she had unknowingly fallen in love with me, just too late to tell me. After realizing her true feelings, Chloe called her mother, getting straight to the point. "I can't marry Liam, Mom. Ethan is the only husband for me in this life." Chloe's mom was furious, almost having a heart attack. Seeing the drastic change in Chloe, her resentment towards me grew. Eager for grandchildren, Chloe's mom decided to take a risk. She quickly called Liam and gave some instructions to her bodyguards. A trap for Chloe was quietly set. That night, Chloe got plastered again. As she reached for another bottle, her eyes landed on a wheelchair a few steps away. Her legs moved before she could think. She struggled to her feet, gazing at the familiar figure still wearing my favorite light blue shirt. Overjoyed, Chloe threw her arms around the man, holding him tight, tears falling. "Ethan, you've finally come back. Are you still mad at me? It's all my fault, all my fault. Ethan, I only love you. I was just too scared to admit it. Liam and I have been over for a long time now. You have to believe me." The man's body stiffened, but Chloe, caught up in her own words, didn't notice. She kissed the side of the man's face and started unbuttoning his shirt, but the slight scent of a different men's cologne hit her, making her freeze. This wasn't me. Chloe then grabbed the man by the neck, her vision suddenly sharp. It was Liam's face. Furious, she kicked the wheelchair aside and dragged Liam, tossing him out. The guards by the door were shocked, exchanging glances before kneeling down to apologize. "Miss Sinclair, we didn't want to. It was the madam's orders. She told us we had to let Mr. Hamilton in." Chloe said nothing, her gaze boring into the groaning Liam, pinning him down by his shoulder. "You tell me, why are you pretending to be Ethan? Why? Why?" Liam wanted to argue, but her shaking made him dizzy, and he passed out. The next thing he knew, he was tied up outside the Sinclair mansion. Chloe's mom fainted at the sight of the tied-up Liam. Upon news reaching her, Chloe angrily threw out everything Liam had ever given her and washed her hands repeatedly where he had touched her. Watching the water flow, she suddenly recalled all the oddities from the past. After giving her assistant some instructions, Chloe lay in bed, heavily burdened, unable to sleep until the doorbell rang loudly. Mark stormed in, punching her at first sight, all his words defending Liam. "Chloe, what madness are you spreading? Do you know what you've done to Liam? Everyone's laughing at him behind his back. So what if you've fallen for Ethan? I asked you before and you denied it. And now what? He's dead." Thinking of the files her secretary had sent her minutes earlier, Chloe's eyes turned cold, her retort unkind. "Compared to what you and Liam did to Ethan, this is nothing." Mark stopped pretending. His face turned guilty, and he repeatedly denied knowing what she was talking about. It wasn't until the photos and audio evidence were thrown in his face that he panicked. Seeing pictures of me being beaten at the Hamiltons, Mark's eyes flickered. He hadn't thought of an excuse before Liam was brought in by bodyguards. Liam was terrified at the first sight of the evidence, his eyes darting around frequently, seeking Mark's gaze. Under Chloe's interrogation, Liam gritted his teeth and blamed everything on Mark. "Chloe, you gotta believe me. I wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone Ethan. It was all Mark using me. Go after the real culprit." Mark looked at Liam in disbelief, unable to comprehend his cherished brother blaming him. Mark glared at Liam, but he kept his head down, insisting Mark was the mastermind. Whipped repeatedly, Mark's back soon became a mess of wounds, the pain threatening his sanity. Watching Liam remain silent beside him, Mark's heart turned as cold as ice. He laughed bitterly. "Chloe, don't think Liam is innocent. I'll tell you, he started all of this. He even brought up how the Hamiltons need heirs for Ethan to leave. Check the surveillance footage if you don't believe me." Mark's words were firm, scaring Liam, who dropped a glass and yelled for the guards to shut him up. Chloe's face turned pitch black, her aura terrifying. She had Liam tossed into a pool, ordering the guards to hold him down. Unless Liam confessed, the guards would dunk his head repeatedly underwater. After a few rounds, Liam confessed everything. He admitted to framing me for theft, making me kneel in the rain all night, and plotting to embarrass me at every turn. Chloe went from shocked to expressionless, her fists clenching tight. Instructing her secretary to entertain them, Chloe personally headed to the hospital, reviewing security footage. She discovered Liam had dressed as a nurse to sneakily enter my room, almost unnoticed. The thought of the funeral triggered her memory. Recalling every detail, she anxiously called her assistant, her face determined. "Quick, find all the staff from Mr. Hamilton's funeral, especially those in black uniforms with badges." Chloe fixated on the video, her eyes locking onto a man who repeatedly came in and out. 5 times. He was a bit shorter than me, with a completely different build. He went into the sound room backstage that last time and never came out. The camera footage was zoomed in repeatedly, displaying the man's face on the big screen. Chloe nodded in satisfaction. Before half the day was over, her secretary had brought back all the information on the man: his name, age, identity, occupation, residence, everything. Chloe's attention was caught by H City. If she remembered correctly, that was where I had lived before the Hamiltons found me. Squinting at Ken's information, Chloe merged it with the kidnapper info she had gathered before and noticed something fishy. There was a good chance they knew each other. Excited beyond belief, Chloe knew it couldn't be a coincidence. Everything pointed towards one thing: I was still alive. Following the clues, Chloe quickly discovered I had bought a ticket to F Country 2 weeks ago, which was over 3 months ago now, the day I had supposedly drowned. I had also bought 2 ship tickets and 2 plane tickets. Quickly packing her bags, Chloe planned to go abroad, but her parents stopped her. "Chloe, you're looking to find Ethan, and that's fine. But don't forget to bring Liam and Mark back, too." Chloe didn't answer, just kept packing her clothes. Her parents, angered, resorted to threatening her inheritance. Her hands froze for a moment, clenching tightly. Then she gave in. By the time Chloe and her bodyguard tracked down Professor Kinsel's biolab, 2 days had already passed. She initiated a visit, speaking fluent French to describe my features. They informed her that I had left 3 days ago. "Ma'am, Ethan and Sarah left 3 days ago. You're too late." Chloe recalled that Ken had a sister named Sarah. On the way back, Chloe kept muttering Sarah's name, her intuition screaming that her relationship with me was complicated. She pounded the wall in frustration, her eyes darkened as her fingers started to bleed. Every time she got close to the truth, she was a step too late, always beaten by someone else. Her joy was extinguished in an instant. She felt deflated and gave herself up to the bottle. For days, Chloe stayed at a bar, a drink always in her hand. Even with her striking looks, she turned down every advance, hoping one of them would be me. But I never appeared. Stumbling out of the bar, drunk, she wandered to its quieter backside. The hustle and bustle was replaced by small clusters of people walking aimlessly. She turned a corner and saw a familiar silhouette. In a moment of clarity, Chloe followed the figure for about 10 paces, stopping in front of a tall building. He halted. The crossing lights danced around his silhouette, merging him perfectly with me, as if we were the same person. Fighting back tears, Chloe jogged to catch up, stopping about 5 meters away when a stranger appeared. The woman threw an arm around his shoulder, chatting and laughing intimately. In that moment, Chloe saw her face. It was Sarah. Standing frozen, Chloe's gaze fixed on the man's hand resting on Sarah's shoulder. Without thinking, she pushed Sarah aside. Chloe beamed at the sight of the familiar face she had yearned for, wrapping me in a tight embrace. "Ethan! Do you know how much I've missed you these days? How could you leave me for so long?" The man stood still. Chloe's joy dissipated as she faced his indifferent eyes. Sheer panic set in. "Miss, I don't know you. Please let go, or I won't hesitate to call the police." His French was laced with a southern accent, his gaze cold and unfamiliar. Before she could process it, Sarah kicked Chloe to the ground. "Drunkard! Stay away from us!" Months of frustration burst out of Chloe, crumbling under the man's detached stare. She cried out her struggles. "Ethan, don't you recognize me? I'm Chloe, your wife. Do you know how long I've been searching for you? Come, Ethan, come back with me, and I promise you'll be the head of the Sinclairs." The man chuckled dismissively. "If you're going to be crazy, find someone else." Still hopeful, Chloe leaned in closer, but then she noticed the absent mole behind his ear. She froze. Was he really not me? As she pondered, they vanished into the building, leaving Chloe lost and bewildered on the curb. She stood at the door for a long while, leaving only when urged by security, memorizing the address before she left. Back at the hotel, she replayed everything she had encountered. Why did he look like me but lack the mole and have his legs intact? She recalled his habit, the way he knelt and looked her in the eye, his left hand subconsciously tapping 3 of his fingers. That was my gesture. She would never forget it. Desperate, Chloe leaped out of bed, threw on her coat, slipped on hotel slippers, and rushed back to the building. "Excuse me, I'm looking for an Asian couple who stayed here. Can you tell me where they are?" The front desk ignored her. Panicking, she offered all the euros she had. Satisfied, the clerk nodded. "They're gone." That one sentence shattered Chloe. She tried prying for more information, but they just shook their head. Dizzy and unsteady, she stumbled down the steps, unaware that she had missed a step, and crashed to the ground, losing consciousness. When she woke up again, it was just her assistant by her side. She couldn't help but shout, "Go find him to where I was found. Ethan stayed there. It's Sarah who influenced him to leave. Hurry, go!" Chloe was so emotional that she yanked on her injured shoulder, crying out in pain. After anxiously waiting at the hospital all morning, her assistant came with some hot porridge, looking down and explaining. "Miss Sinclair, we still can't find him. We've searched everywhere. People are suspicious and won't say much." A spoon in Chloe's hand hit the table hard. She was breathing heavily, her shoulder bleeding, and she said weakly, "Offer money. 1,000 euros for information, and 100,000 if they help me find him." After that, many people came forward with information, some just trying to take advantage, causing chaos in the search. One afternoon, when Chloe was irritated by all the mixed messages, her assistant brought good news. Someone had seen me and Sarah on a flight back to S City, and had learned that we planned to settle there. Chloe looked at a photo of her and me, showing a smile she hadn't had in a while. "Ethan, I'm coming for you." As soon as Chloe got to S City, she contacted the police, who quickly found my and Sarah's address through the local registry. It was a quaint little villa in the suburbs, and the garden was covered in wisteria vines. The former owner mentioned that I had bought the place specifically for the wisteria. Chloe thought of the moonflowers in the Sinclair's backyard, blushed, and called her housekeeper. Remove the moonflowers and plant wisteria instead. Make sure they're the best flowers and are beautiful. After giving her instructions, Chloe checked herself in the mirror, satisfied. Taking advantage of Sarah leaving around 8 a.m., Chloe had a bodyguard press the doorbell. The door opened, and a visibly tense me stood there in casual clothes. Chloe couldn't hold back anymore. Holding roses, she knelt. "Ethan, I finally found you. Don't deny it, you're Ethan. Your little habits can't fool me. Ethan, come back with me. I'll spend my life making it up to you." My expression was unchanged. I looked down at Chloe and gave a cold smile, slapping her on the left side of her face. "Chloe, why should I forgive you? Forgive you for paralyzing my legs? Forgive what you did during those 7 days? Forgive every false accusation, or forgive you for not saving me?" Every word felt like a stab to Chloe's heart, making her bow her head even lower, sobbing. "Ethan, I was wrong. Do whatever you need to punish me, but please forgive me, will you?" I sneered, pointing to the pebble pathway outside, speaking indifferently. "If you're sincere in your atonement, kneel and kowtow there. Don't you remember forcing me to do the same? Now it's your turn." The cold ground touched her forehead repeatedly, the pebbles painfully digging into her knees. Yet Chloe kept bowing, each time whispering, "I'm sorry." An hour passed, then 2, the whole morning. Her forehead was bleeding heavily, and her voice was hoarse, yet I didn't stop her. Her assistant, unable to watch any longer, begged me, telling of their difficult journey to find me. I stirred my coffee, took a sip, and finally called out, "Stop it!" Chloe was overjoyed, and her assistant hurried to help her up, but I splashed most of my coffee on her. "I've seen enough, Chloe. Go back. I'll call you if I ever need to see someone kneel again." Chloe's eyes darkened. She anxiously tugged at my pant leg, falling to her knees again, crying. "Ethan, what do I need to do for you to forgive me? Are you happy to see me like this, Ethan?" "Of course. Seeing the once arrogant Chloe so miserable is even better than TV. There's plenty that makes me happy, and seeing you suffer is one of them." I flicked Chloe's bloody fingers away, gave her a disgusted look, and shut the door. Chloe beat on the door powerlessly, screaming my name, but I ignored her. When Sarah returned home from work, holding carefully chosen brownies, her good mood disappeared upon seeing Chloe. She tried to drive Chloe away, but Chloe insisted she would wait for me. Sarah, initially ignoring her, couldn't when Chloe tried to slip into the house as she entered. The pent-up anger burst, and Sarah punched Chloe, knocking her down. Growing up in the slums, Sarah had learned to fight, and had even taken up martial arts later. Chloe's 2 bodyguards were weak and no match for her. After a couple of rounds, Sarah easily took Chloe down again and issued a final warning. "If you keep bothering Ethan, I'll deal with you every time. Next time it'll be an arm, then a leg. Get out and keep our front yard clean." With the help of her bodyguards, Chloe got up and looked through the window, seeing me and Sarah having a cozy lunch. Her nose tingled. Once, she and I were that close, but now it's all gone. I really won't forgive her. By the time she returned to G-City, it was already evening. As soon as she entered the villa, the aroma of something delicious filled the air. Walking into the dining room, Chloe saw Liam and the nanny busy in the kitchen. Liam's face lit up when he saw her. "Chloe, you're finally back. It must have been tiring in Country F, right? Go rest. Look, I made a whole seafood feast." Seeing the familiar, sweet shrimp, Chloe's mind immediately recalled my seafood allergy. That day, she had given me a box of seafood porridge that Liam had barely touched. The guilt was overwhelming. Remembering my harshness earlier, she barely had the strength to speak. How could she have been so reckless? She knew about my allergy. Liam waved his hand in front of her, offering a bowl of seafood porridge with pride. "Chloe, I simmered this for over 3 hours with sea cucumber and dried scallops. Try it." 3 hours earlier, Chloe had just boarded a plane. Yet somehow, Liam knew she was coming back. Thinking it over, Chloe looked sharply at her assistant, who nervously confessed. "Miss Sinclair, it was the madam. She said if we don't regularly update her on your whereabouts, we'd all be fired. I'm sorry." Chloe didn't say a word, feeling utterly ridiculous. In front of Liam, she had the bodyguards bring in the caged Tibetan Mastiff, watching as it devoured the whole table of food, even licking the plates clean. Liam was furious. "Chloe, it was just a beast, and you haven't even eaten. There's more porridge in the kitchen, so how about—" Before he finished, Chloe released the Mastiff, which knocked Liam to the ground, leaving scratch marks on his face. Liam scrambled away, and as Chloe watched, with a cut on her lip, tears silently fell. In the Hamiltons' living room, my mother was tending to Liam's wounds, who was in pain. "Liam, weren't you cooking for Chloe? How did you get hurt this bad?" Liam shook his head, his face twisted with malice. Across the couch, Mark clenched his newspaper tightly. Late at night, Liam looked over the private investigator's results and crushed the flowers on his balcony. "I sure was lucky. Even when I almost drowned, I came back with healed legs." He picked up the phone and made a call. "Interested in a job? $5 million when it's done. I want Ethan gone." In the moonlight, Liam's figure appeared more menacing. Around the corner, Mark leaned against the wall, terrified. Back in bed, he couldn't sleep, thinking of past memories. When they were kids, I was always with him. With their parents often busy, they were close, until I got lost because of Mark's carelessness. His parents constantly blamed him afterward. Soon enough, Liam arrived at the Hamiltons and became a recipient of Mark's guilt. When I was found, Mark was happy and scared, afraid that I would blame him for everything and sabotage him. Because of those feelings, Mark remained cold, ignoring my attempts to make peace. Liam's complaints only made things worse for Mark. The memory of me nearly drowning haunted him. He had thought of helping, but Liam had urged him to do nothing. Mark knew I saw him as a coward who only protected Liam. Tears streamed down Mark's face as he stared at his contacts. He made a call. "We need to meet. It's about your safety." In the S-City Cafe, Mark looked at the well-dressed me with a sense of disbelief. I entered wearing custom shoes, nothing like the timid boy from before. "Congrats on your recovery, Ethan," Mark said awkwardly. I frowned and asked about the issue. "Last night I overheard Liam and his connections plotting to kidnap you. Be careful." I nodded while Mark remained seated uncomfortably. I was about to leave, but Mark stopped me. "I'm sorry, Ethan. After Chloe confronted us, I realized Liam had been setting you up. I know I can't ask for forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry." Bowing deeply before looking up with teary eyes, Mark spoke. I sat back down, gazing out at the doves flying by. "Do you think an apology fixes everything? Can it erase the hardships from when you left me to buy candy 15 years ago? Does it wash away the humiliation I faced when I returned to the Hamiltons?" Mark went pale, lowered his head, and in a small voice admitted his fault. "I'm wrong. I'm not deserving." "You're right, you're not. Don't think I don't know these apologies are just for your conscience," I responded, standing up. "I don't need cheap, useless apologies from you or from Chloe." As I walked away, Mark hesitated to follow. What would be the point? Only to be pushed away again. Standing still, he realized that he and I had grown apart long ago. I was moving towards a brighter future, gaining confidence, but Mark and the others remained stuck, foolishly hoping to repair things. He finally texted Chloe a simple message, asking her to leave me alone. She never replied, and the message vanished into silence. Chloe was all set to confess her feelings in a carefully planned ceremony when she saw the message. She was a bit shocked, but quickly brushed it off. She didn't believe what Mark said was true, nor was she ready to give up. Once everything was planned, Chloe arranged to meet me in City G through one of our mutual friends. As soon as I arrived, I was greeted by a stunning sea of wisteria flowers, with photos of me and Chloe from the past laid out on the lawn. In the middle of the crowd, Chloe stood there, wearing the suit from our wedding, with the watch I had given her, looking sincere with a microphone in hand. She walked towards me, pouring her heart out about the past few months. Finally, she choked up and said, "Ethan, I was wrong. Please give me another chance. This time I'll love you twice as much." I looked at the woman who had proclaimed her love countless times, yet had hurt me repeatedly, and I laughed. Wishful thinking. Everyone was taken aback, and Chloe felt embarrassed but continued her confession. "So, what if it's wishful thinking, Ethan? You're still my husband. I didn't sign those divorce papers." I maintained my composure and slowly looked behind me. "Who said you didn't sign? Take a good look." It was Ken and Sarah. All eyes turned to the divorce papers in Ken's hand, with Chloe's signature glaringly obvious at the bottom right. Panicked, Chloe stood up to snatch the papers, but Sarah grabbed her wrist tightly, causing her to cry out in pain. "Ethan, let me explain. I was forced. You have to believe me. If you come back to me, we can get remarried right away. We people like us. We always have so many things beyond our control. Ethan, you should understand me." Someone in the crowd wanted to speak up for Chloe, but Sarah's glare kept them silent. She took out a document renouncing her inheritance from her bag, tossing it in Chloe's face, and mocked her. "Chloe, you can fool yourself, but not us. This renouncement statement clearly says if you remarry Ethan, you fear you won't be the president anymore." Sarah was confident, while Ken spat at her. Chloe gritted her teeth and admitted, "Ethan, you know I can't handle not being the heiress." I didn't want to hear it anymore. I glanced at Sarah, who understood, and dragged Chloe out. As the crowd disbanded, I picked a wisteria bloom, swaying in the wind, and sighed. What a shame they were ruined by Chloe. At the entrance, no matter how much Chloe yelled, Sarah stood guard. As a woman herself, she could see through Sarah's intentions and got even more upset, warning her to stay away from me. "What gives you the right to stop me from going after Ethan? You're just his ex-wife, a nobody with no ambition." Finding it hard to breathe, Chloe clenched her fist as she remembered the last time she was beaten, and her body froze. On the way back, my indifferent face kept replaying in Chloe's mind, while Sarah's provocatively smiling face appeared. Frustrated, Chloe hit the steering wheel twice. Lost in her thoughts, she didn't realize she had sped up to 120 miles per hour, crashing into a turning truck at an intersection. The windshield shattered instantly, and a vision of me flashed through Chloe's mind. "I can't die," she thought. She used every ounce of strength to crawl out of the overturned car, touched the blood on her forehead, and finally fainted. Meanwhile, I was getting ready to fly back to City S when I got a call from Chloe's assistant. "Ethan, it's Chloe. She had a car accident." Ken paused mid-thought about dinner plans, watching my calm face as he exchanged a look with Sarah. "Ethan, do we still—" "No need. Head back as planned," I replied. "Chloe's state means nothing to me." After dinner, I was distracted while working in my study. Sarah knocked on the door, bringing me warm water and muscle relief pills, reminding me to take my medicine. I thanked her, not noticing the dosage was half of what it usually was. "Ethan, didn't you notice something different about your medicine today?" Sarah's reminder snapped me back to reality. Feeling I'd been a bit off, I took the other half of the pills. Sarah sighed from the doorway, breaking the silence. "Ethan, I know you can't stop worrying about Chloe, and I understand. It's not about whether you love her. If you want to go, I'll go with you." I didn't respond verbally, but touched the empty space around my neck before softly saying, "Okay." By the time we reached City G Hospital, it was early the next morning. Shortly after arriving in the hospital room, Chloe slowly came to, scanning the room until her eyes landed on me. "Ethan, you're here? Why so far away? Didn't we just get married yesterday?" I almost didn't make it to see you. Who's that with you?" Upon examination, the doctor could only conclude that Chloe had amnesia. Since then, Chloe clung to me almost all the time, needing me even to help her dress. Liam became completely ignored, and Chloe's mother didn't even bother pretending to be nice to her. "Can't believe you actually made it back in one piece. So your leg's fine, huh?" Chloe's really lost her mind. "Talking to me doesn't change anything," I responded calmly. "I can leave anytime, but what about Chloe? That's your real concern." Chloe's mother was silenced by my words, glaring at me before leaving with Liam. In the hospital room, with no patients left, Chloe's mother addressed the unwanted son-in-law, recalling Liam's betrayal. "Now that you're back, you should know the position of the Sinclair son-in-law belongs to Liam. Sure, Liam was married once, but Chloe only loves him. You should be wise." Sarah couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up for me. "Auntie, you really need to stop playing favorites so blatantly. You're more worried about who your son-in-law will be than you are about how Ethan's leg healed. Be careful, or you might end up with nothing." Mark was about to say something, but Chloe's mom was escorted out by him, leaving just Liam, who dropped any pretenses. "You just won't go away, Ethan. Let's see how long you can stay this smug." These back-to-back insults made Sarah a bit worried, but I smiled at her, showing I was fine. I'd heard worse, and any last hope I had for these so-called relatives had vanished. I had made up my mind. Back in the hospital room, Chloe was munching on an apple. She saw me and offered me another one she had washed. I didn't take it. Chloe teared up, trying to peel the apple herself, but ended up cutting her hand. I had no choice but to get some gauze from a nurse and wrap up her wound. Even with the messiest bandage job, Chloe blushed and said it looked nice. My expression twitched at this, and I began to probe Chloe with some questions. She answered them all pretty well, if you ignored her habit of touching her nose. I knew if Chloe was lying, she would always nervously touch her nose. Watching her happily biting into that apple, I masked my cold feelings and acted like I didn't notice a thing. If Chloe was going to pretend, I'd play along. After this, I patiently stayed by Chloe's side, taking care of her considerately. This made Chloe think I was about to forgive her, making her even happier. One day, as I was peeling an orange for Chloe, her assistant brought in the latest quarterly earnings report for W Group. After she put it down, Chloe started reading. I sneaked a glance and noticed the Hamiltons' name. Casually, I asked, "Next quarter, are you still planning on using the Hamiltons for raw materials?" Chloe paused with her pen and grasped my hands, placing an orange slice in her mouth, sweet-talking me. "Ethan, are you upset? Tell me which supplier you want W Group to work with. I'll make it happen." Our eyes met, and I leaned close to whisper a name in her ear. Chloe frowned. "Ethan, Q-Tech has always been W Group's competitor's main supplier. Isn't this a bit risky?" I didn't reply, just turned to leave. But Chloe clung to me tightly, softly agreeing to it. Meanwhile, Mark received a call from the raw materials department, surprised to hear that W Group planned on switching suppliers next quarter. Calling Chloe, I picked up instead. I openly declared, "Chloe's words are my opinion. Whatever Chloe decides, that's what we'll do." Mark had no other choice but to inform my mom, who was livid, wanting to confront me. "Mom, why bother? In the end, we owe Ethan. It's only natural he wants revenge. We've depended on the Sinclairs for our living, and now they've signed a contract with Q-Tech. We can't change that." My mom felt the sky falling, hitting Mark, and calling him ungrateful. Then she had a stroke. I found out from Mark, who wanted me to visit my mom, but I sidestepped the topic. Did she come to see me when I was rescued from being kidnapped, all battered and bruised? Mark froze, recalling my state when I was found, barely dressed, my legs bleeding. Back then, the Hamiltons had hired help to take care of me. Mark had visited once, but my mom wouldn't go, despite his pleas. "Mark, you keep speaking well of him. He's embarrassed me completely. If not for appearances, I'd have left him to fend for himself in that hospital." Mark continued talking, but the call was cut after a couple of beeps. Slumping against the wall, he remembered his earlier call to Liam. He had found every excuse not to come. Then his bank record showed a withdrawal of 20 grand right on his bill. Whatever. They had brought it upon themselves. Who could they blame? I had no intentions of relenting. I planned to use Chloe to squeeze out every bit of her worth. A few nights later, while wiping Chloe down, I unintentionally showed an old scar on my shoulder. A nasty reminder. Chloe dropped her laptop and asked about it. I spoke of the time Liam had framed me for theft, adding on the injustices I had faced from the Hamiltons. Watching me, she wept. "Chloe, didn't you promise to make it up to me? Why are the ones who wronged me still okay? Did you break your promise, or did you never plan to help me at all? If it's like this, there's no need for me to forgive you. You were never going to stand up for me." I gave her a light slap, then slowed my steps. Behind me, Chloe hurried after me. "It's not like that, Ethan. I truly want to make it right. You tell me how to handle him. I only love you." Worried I didn't trust her, Chloe carried me back to the room, kissed my forehead, and gently embraced me. I bit back my discomfort, watching the sky brighten, looking unconcerned. Liam, still half asleep, was knocked out and taken away in a sack, while Mark was brought personally by bodyguards to Chloe's basement. When the light hit him, Liam opened his eyes to see the couple in charge, while Chloe swirled a wine glass, holding me close. Liam started pleading, but was restrained and silenced with a cloth. Mark stayed composed, sensing their visit was about settling scores, and resigned himself to nodding. This was his debt to me. For 2 whole days, Mark was whipped, soaked in water overnight, and then had to kneel while being cut with a knife. A red-hot iron branded his left shoulder, leaving raw and bloody flesh, which reminded Mark of the burn scar on me from back when Liam's favorite diamond cufflink went missing. It had been found in my room. Liam had forced me to kneel and apologize. I had refused to admit it. In his anger, Liam had punished me with kitchen charcoal to calm himself down. Years later, my own methods were being used against him. Karma works in strange ways. Liam wasn't any better off than Mark. He was almost tortured to death, with no unscathed spot on his body. But I was still unsatisfied. I turned to the woman I had once deeply loved. "Chloe, do you remember everything from those 7 days?" She paused, her hand swirling a wine glass, quickly replying that she didn't remember. I simply shook my head. "I'll never forget. So, hand Liam over to me. Isn't there an empty room over there?" Liam, lying there like a dead fish, scrambled up to Chloe's feet, begging, "Chloe, you can't give me to him, can you?" I swiftly slapped him twice, then locked eyes with Chloe, refusing to back down. Chloe motioned to the bodyguards, who dragged Liam away at my request. Relentlessly, I turned towards the small room. Chloe felt a pang of anxiety, thinking I might have realized she hadn't lost her memory. But she brushed off the doubts, comforted by their close days together. For 7 days and nights, I only left the small room a few times. Apart from me, no one knew what occurred inside. When Liam was finally hauled out, he was out of his mind, with festering wounds all over and his right hand completely broken. He shivered, rejecting any contact, occasionally muttering gibberish. "Send him to jail, and let Mark go." In the Sinclairs' living room, Chloe was serving me, urging me to eat more. I nodded, then casually asked, "Why no seafood porridge today?" Chloe replied, "Ethan, did you forget the last time I bought seafood porridge?" Mid-sentence, Chloe realized something was wrong and snapped her gaze to me. I had already placed my chopsticks down, my eyes as cold as ice. Chloe's face dropped as she realized she had slipped up. For a few seconds, she pondered how to explain, but I just waved it off, laughing. No need to come up with excuses, Chloe. Is there any point in pretending? I don't want to keep this act up. It's exhausting. Turning away, Chloe hurried to hug me, her voice pitiful, apologizing repeatedly. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of me, tears shimmering, I gently wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Tears, your best weapon. Chloe, are you sure you want to act pitiful for sympathy? We stood close enough that I could smell her scent. Her throat moved as she whispered, Ethan, We're done. As for breaking my leg, your revenge is coming soon. When the door closed, I breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing Sarah by the car a few steps away, I felt at ease. Ethan, it's all planned. They agreed. When do you think is right? Thinking it over, I said, next Wednesday should be Mrs. Sinclair's birthday. Let's do it then. In 5 days, I and Sarah gathered all our evidence and handed it to Ken, telling him to release it that day. Meanwhile, Chloe tried to reach me several times, but I avoided her. Tuesday night, I watched from upstairs as Chloe's car drove off. I marked the day off on my calendar. Sarah, delivering milk, tousled my hair, reminding me to rest early. I looked at the scars on my arm, thigh, and abdomen in the moonlight, and drank the milk. Chloe, this is what you deserve. The next day was Chloe's mother's birthday. The media all over G-City was buzzing with news, attracting all the city's elite to the party. During the celebration, Chloe exuded confidence and a warm smile. But when it came time to cut the cake, the outdoor screen displayed evidence of W Group's financial troubles and embezzlement. Everyone gasped. Simultaneously, police sirens wailed as well-trained officers arrested 3 people, canceling the party. When Chloe was released that night, she was still in shock. Her first thought was of me, finding me in a bridal shop with Sarah, who was trying on wedding dresses. My smile seemed particularly piercing. Ethan, I came to ask if what happened today was your doing. Her voice grew softer, as deep down she already knew the answer. I stepped out of the fitting room, changing out of the wedding dress, and nodded calmly. Anger and frustration flashed across Chloe's face, eventually settling into calmness, leading to a single word. Why? Because I won't let the Sinclairs get away easily. What you owe me is far from complete. When I break your legs myself, just like you did to me, then we're done. Emotions flooded her, memories of me over the years, with highs and lows filling Chloe's mind. As the stick struck her legs, a surge of fear overcame her. She bit her lip, but didn't make a sound. After numerous strikes, she only heard my curt leave. After being untied, she moved her wrists. With the blindfold removed, the last thing she saw was me walking away. As the door opened, she saw her mother, her eyes swollen, staring at her. Faced with her own sins, she found herself with no defense. A week later, the Sinclairs sold off all their assets, paid their public debts, and completely exited the elite circles of G-City. Meanwhile, in a downtown hotel in S-City, a grand wedding was taking place. I, in a white suit, walked slowly toward the woman at the center of the stage. My vision blurred for a moment. From knowing each other as kids to being together in France and finally achieving revenge, she was always by my side. The first time I married Chloe, I was in a wheelchair, facing everyone's scorn as her groom. This time, with everyone's blessings, I married Sarah, who loved me dearly. When we exchanged rings, I saw the tears glistening in Sarah's eyes and remembered a childhood story. Back then, I had escaped from traffickers and had almost gotten hit by a car in H-City, but Sarah and Ken had pushed me to safety. However, that incident had left Sarah with a permanent disability in her left leg. She walked with a slight limp, but it was hardly noticeable. As a little girl with tears in her eyes, she had comforted me, telling me not to cry. I leaned in to kiss Sarah's lips as our friends cheered, tossing the bouquet to Ken. Watching the video Ken sent, Chloe's eyes welled up again, fixating on the message. Chloe, you should know you're way out of your league compared to my sister. If Ethan hadn't decided to let it go, you'd probably be eating prison meals for life. Mark knocked on the door, seeing Chloe hurriedly put away her phone. He asked what her plans were. She smiled bitterly, looking at the wheelchair. What can I do now? Mark patted her shoulder and handed her a letter from Liam. I'm thinking of leaving with Mom. BS Group was tied to the Sinclairs, and now it won't last long. We might as well sell it and move on with the money. I visited him in jail yesterday. He's not doing well, but insisted I give this to you. Whether you read it is up to you. Chloe tore up the letter in front of Mark and hesitantly asked, Do you blame me for everything I did back then? Mark immediately understood, nodded, and then shook his head. This was all my mistake. It's only right to pay for it. However, debts can't be fully repaid. Instead of letting us off the hook, it's more like he wants us to live with our guilt. Chloe held the cold watch in her hand, causing her fingers to tremble slightly. She messaged me, asking to see me one more time, offering the watch as an exchange. I agreed. On the day we met, Chloe got up early, specifically tying on my favorite purple scarf. She hadn't expected Sarah to be there too. Seeing us holding hands, Chloe's eyes dimmed a little. After greeting us, Chloe handed the watch to me. I turned around and put it on Sarah. We didn't speak a word, communicating through glances with perfect understanding. As we got up to leave, Chloe couldn't hold back and turned her wheelchair, calling out to me. If there's a chance, when will we meet again? I paused and said, No need. Chloe's hands dropped. Her throat tightened and her eyes stung. Faint conversation came through with laughter, in the words, Ethan, you've been busy with the rehab hospital. You must be exhausted. I'll cook your favorite ribs when we get home. Be sure to eat a lot. Sure, just make extra. Ken secretly complains you never make enough. I think it's just his greed. He eats his share and still wants yours. Chloe stayed where she was, the shadow from her wheelchair enveloping her, while the couple walked hand in hand, shining brightly in the sunlight. She realized they were like parallel lines, never to cross again. This time, my Ethan had chosen right. And as for his punishment for her, she willingly accepted it.